The high-speed train with 550 passengers on board was travelling between Amsterdam and Paris when a man opened fire. He was overpowered by 3 members of the public, 2 of them US soldiers. The man, known to the French intelligence services, was armed with a Kalashnikov, an automatic pistol and razor blades. The attack in 2015 further highlighted the vulnerability of trains and passengers. Emergency services have conducted a series of exercises to shape the response. This film is designed to share the learning.
We're looking at high-speed trains travelling large distances, and it may not always be easy to locate it. Commonly held misconception that Network Rail ultimately know where all their trains are at any one point. They may be between 2 points, and in some cases those could be 13 miles apart, these 2 points.
But yeah, it's received incident 187.
Early signs of a potential attack on a train will be picked up in control rooms across the emergency services.
Go ahead, Romeo 21.
There will be a surge in calls or text messages and emails. If the train is crossing boundaries, a number of centres may be involved, and the train may already have left the area.
Trains are vulnerable with large numbers of people on board, and they are held within a confined space, whereas a suspect can easily cause casualties by very little action. A packed carriage may contain 100 people on it, and they have nowhere to go.
The first challenge will be to identify and locate the train and establish whether it's moving or stationary. It may be in a busy station, which could mean large numbers of people are at risk. Or it could be in a remote location, far from the road network. On a viaduct, in a tunnel, up an embankment, in a cutting or below ground. Wherever the train is, access to it will not be straightforward.
If we're lucky, it will be near a station or near somewhere where there's easy access and we can amass our resources and we can tackle it. But clearly, if it's in the middle of nowhere, in a rural area, for example, it might take some time to get assets there.
Key challenges for firefighters dealing with MTFA on a train would certainly be access to it. Depending on where it stops, access to it is a difficulty in itself, because the access to a train is some distance off the track level, and once in there it's a very confined operating environment for firefighters to work in.
Since the attack on the train in France, the UK has drawn up a police memorandum of understanding to decide which force takes command.
Whilst the train is moving, the British Transport Police would take overall command of that incident. But as soon as the train stops and is static, the command will transfer across to the force in which the train has stopped. And then it would be like any other firearms incident. It would be dealt with in exactly the same way.
Exercises have taken place that test the joint operating principles in response to an MTFA involving a train.
I'm going to deploy 5 ambulances down to the Ford incident post.
A suitable RVP for emergency responders will be identified.
Just to confirm that this has been declared an Operation Plato incident. It's a major incident.
The forward command post will be set up as close to the incident as safely possible, and a multi-agency dynamic risk assessment carried out.
So your firearms officers, have they got ladders that they'll be using to gain access, or do you want us to provide some?
Okay, what I want you to do is look straight at me, okay? Don't look anywhere else. Look straight.
Passengers following the advice to run, hide and tell may have escaped the train. They'll hide and may not easily be visible or follow instructions immediately. They will be scared and confused and could be spread out over a wide area. When responding to an MTFA on a train or trackside, remember the generic safety principles. Be aware of power and overhead cables. keep off the tracks, keep away from the points, and pay attention to slips, trips and falls. It's possible in the early stages of the response that other trains may be moving. The incident could occur on the Underground network in London, Newcastle, Liverpool or Scotland. Responders will need to be aware of local plans and procedures for response, including communication methods. Whether above or below ground, casualties may be hard to reach and extract. The working conditions will be cramped and potentially hot.
Well, a marauding terrorist firearms attack on a train will add an additional layer of complexity to an already challenging incident. Some of those challenges will involve patients not only on the train itself, but on the tracks who may have fled the scene and are hiding from the attackers. On the train, it's almost a restricted space. It's going to be very difficult to gain access to the patients, to triage them and treat them. Therefore, the casualty management plan needs to take all of those factors into account, which many of them come from the location of where the train has come to a halt.
Since the attacks on the tube network in 2005, communications underground have improved. The London Underground Control Centre is co-located with BTP, making it easier to identify and locate the affected train. Even so, casualty numbers could be high. Specially trained and equipped paramedics and firefighters will deal with casualties using the treat and leave principles to save as many lives as possible.
Albert, I'll call you back to get you in a second. Put yourself on your side. Put yourself on your side.
There may be many casualties from an attack such as this on a train, and that may also be in a remote location. So the casualty management plan needs to be aware of that. What we will use is treat and leave and treat and extricate tactics to treat as many people as possible in the shortest time frame, but equally it's also about getting the patients away from the warm zone and on to definitive care.
The potential vulnerability of people in a high-speed mass transit system is well understood. Multi-agency specialist training is taking place to meet the threat.
The first and primary challenge is speed of response. So finding out where the train is moving to, and getting into a position whereby we can intervene in order to identify, locate and confront that threat to save life.
You have to get yourself mentally prepared for what a scene like this is going to feel like. And the best way of doing that is to be as well trained as possible and to constantly exercise your plans. One of those plans is how you work together in partnership with all of the blue light services. And this is well tested, it's well tried, but we want people who it's not going to be their first experience. This is going to be the worst day of our lives, and this is an opportunity for us to save life. And in order to save life, we've got to be as well trained as possible.